Oh, yeah!
Connecting to the internet.
No one makes a fool out of me. Get a load of this.
There's only one real Sonic.
Hey there, this is Rect, and today I'm going to talk about a topic requested by you, the viewers. I do check the comments regularly, and some of you have given me suggestions for videos, which is fantastic. This means I can count on all of you to inspire me if I run out of ideas. So, if you have any suggestions, just tell me in the comments. Today, as you may guess, I'm going to take a rather popular suggestion and talk about the voice actors. I know that others such as Steven Nux already covered this topic quite well, so I will try to add to the discussion with additional ideas instead of starting it anew. Personally, I've noticed a trend with how voice actors are discussed. When people talk about voice actors, they usually just rate them in order of which ones they prefer. They state their favorite voice and usually explain it with a reason relating to conforming to the character. It sounds more right, more natural. My question for them is, are we talking about raw talent here, or something deeper that is once again related to Sonic's spirit? You may have noticed that the current cast for the Sonic series is frequently the least appreciated by the fandom, but writing them off as mere bad actors is too easy and not necessarily true. I'm tempted to believe that if there's an issue with the voice actors, we should perhaps look at something other than the actors themselves. They are actors, so their job is to be able to create diverse voices and adapt to their boss's commands. So, the real staff member to blame here is actually their boss, the voice director. The voice director is the person in charge of telling the actors how they should sound. I'm certain that if the first cast was handled by the modern staff, they would probably sound off too, because the cartoony direction the series has taken is what it is, a direction. The actors are sounding fake because the command is to be funny, not enthusiastic, serious, or fitting. An early example of this can be taken from the localization of Sonic X. At one point, Mike Pollock, the current voice for Dr. Eggman in the series, stated on Facebook that he'd recorded the first few episodes of Sonic X with a completely serious tone to his Eggman voice, and this is quite noticeable in retrospect if you look for it in the dub. However, very shortly after he began, the voice director at 4Kids decided to change things around. As perhaps the very first perpetuator of the just a cartoon hedgehog ideology, asking Mike and the other voice actors to make their performances more cartoony and silly, to fit the lighter tone 4Kids desired. Over time, the success of Sonic X's English dub, it's because of how well it did over here that Season 3 was even made, slowly spread many of its voice actors to the actual games, along with the idea of a more comical tone. However, this cartoony direction didn't consume either the anime or games entirely, until the Colors era brought in new writers too. This is the huge difference between past eras and the Colors era. Before Colors, Sonic didn't have 100% forced cartoony funny voices. They mostly sounded normal, even in Sonic X and slightly cartoonier games like Unleashed. You see, when you have, let's say, a cartoon with a serious premise, you don't make the characters sound funny, because the characters are meant to be relatable. As soon as they get their fake, goofy voice, the audience understands automatically that these characters aren't meant to act normally and they are no longer relatable. They appear two-dimensional and usually either become vessels for jokes, seen in shows like Sonic Boom, morals, seen in shows like Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, or education, seen in almost every kids show ever broadcast on PBS, and even educational games like Sonic Schoolhouse, in which Sonic's voice was made far more cartoony than anything before or since. Almost never are such voices used for serious plots in an unironic or unsubverting manner. During the past games, Sonic characters were handled as serious cartoon characters and spoke as such, in the Japanese and English dub alike. However, as previously mentioned, there was a strange transition during the production of Sonic X when the people in charge of the localization started to put back in question the initial nature of these characters. Mike Pollock has even stated that he didn't like Sonic X at first because he was trying to continue Dean Bristow's legacy, partially due to the fact that he'd said multiple times before that he preferred comedy. Despite this, I'd like to stress that the change in tone was in no way Mike's doing, as he put his best foot forward on a serious performance to mimic his predecessor until his boss/voice director told him to change it. The fact that he preferred doing cartoonier voices was purely coincidental to this at the time. While his preference may be far less passive today, that's a topic for another time. The point is, when Sonic X's localization began, Mike too saw the difference between the way characters are portrayed in the adventure games and the way their portrayal was desired to change by the localization team, and has become the series standard by now. If you look at the games in Japanese Sonic X, you don't see a huge clash with the voice direction. The spirit started to be altered with the TV localization, and this became more and more unnatural up until its peak in the Colors era. Even though I don't really find the actors responsible for this, I think it would be better for the franchise if Sega decided to replace the current cast, for the following reasons. First, I think a change of cast would be an interesting move for what it would imply, a new start. Keep in mind that the current cast, save for Mike Pollock, implied a change of direction too, since they started in 2010 when the franchise became a comedy. The current voice director started in 2010 too. What a coincidence, you might say. Replacing the actors would indeed be a nice PR move. It would show their desire to start over. Second, even if I said that the biggest problem is the voice director, there's still a personal touch that belongs to the actors. All that time spent recording their characters in a particular way convinces them their character must be portrayed that way if they're voicing them. I can't help but feel that the current cast has been corrupted by the way Sonic characters have been portrayed since 2010, and it's way beyond repair. If you look at them during the recording, they just naturally want to fool around and improvise comedy. It's like a play date. They don't really care about the integrity of the characters, they just want to make jokes, sound funny, and have fun, which reflects in their acting. Going back to the serious Sonic approach would become unnatural for these people after so much time spent on the characters in this style. Lastly, the VA department needs some fresh blood. I'm not even going to preach for the Adventure cast. They're indeed my personal favorite cast, and I'd love to see them back, but I honestly don't count on it, and I'm fine with that. What is really important is having the right spirit back, and this would be my favorite option. Sega needs new people that can be influenced by a new direction for the games, instead of being held back by a pre-existing one. And in order to do that, they need to erase any influence from the Colors era. New blood would also prevent the current annoying personalities of some current VAs from spreading. I can only see good in such a decision. Sega never had any problem with the idea of changing the entire cast in the past, so seeing them suddenly become attached to these people seems rather odd, especially since their removal wouldn't be seen as unfair as it did for their predecessors. Of course, the top priority is to question the current direction of Sonic on its own. If the direction is fixed, everything else will, over time, return to a more natural state and regain its natural spirit. True Sonic spirit. This has been Wrecked. I'm out.